G'day everyone, and welcome to our education sneak peek for Away by Michael Gow, directed by the fabulous Daniel Evans here at Boite in Brisbane. I'm Ari Palani. I'm the youth and education producer here on Yagara and Turrbal Country, and I'd like to show our respects to the traditional custodians from the lands that we're all zooming in on today, elders past, present, and future. We are on land where sovereignty has never been ceded. I'm glad that all of us can meet today to talk about this awesome upcoming show. So thank you for joining us today after a school day for a glimpse into developing our upcoming production of Away. It's going to be running every night except for Sundays from the 27th of October through the 13th of November. We are so glad to be able to chat about this work with significant lead time for schools, despite the tricky timing at the end of the year. Unfortunately, we're still feeling the after effects of the last 16 months, but we're hoping to round out the year with a spectacular show by Brisbane-based director Daniel Evans, who we'll be chatting with shortly. For everyone's ease today, it would be best to place any of your questions into the chat function. And we can address these at the end. Sorry, just letting some people in. Welcome, welcome. I'll also be following up this Zoom call with an email containing all the details that you need. We have programmed Away by Michael Gow because it is a quintessentially Australian play with universal themes, questions and commentary relevant to this day, and offers much for both drama and English classrooms. And what better way to round out the year than a summary trip away? Besides being an Australian classic for drama students, it also appears on the prescribed texts for our senior English students this year. And it's a perfect option for years 9 to 12 in each subject. At Boite, we're seeing a lot more schools booking in to expose their students to live theatre and share their experiences with a wider cohort to build their creative and reflective skills. Away connects to so many facets of the curriculum, from realism to magical realism, directorial vision, ensemble performance, perspectives, texts and culture, concepts and issues, and the all-important syllabus implementation, cognitive verb. Away has endured as a classic because the three families in it are achingly familiar, and we see their struggles, their preoccupations, the moments of happiness. We see them all reflected in our own lives. Even though it's set in the 1960s, touches on the Vietnam War, the Depression, the shifting class system, coming of age, having a crush, and young people dying before their parents. Away showcases the rhythms of summer that we are all too familiar with here in Australia. The heat, conversations with family, and the escape to landscape that we feel tradition and connected with. But enough from me. We are joined by the wonderful Daniel Evans, director for the production, to talk more about his process and thoughts. So welcome to Dan.
Hello, Ari Palani. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So great to be here. Hi, everyone.
It's a bit difficult when there's silence, but hopefully everyone is able to hear.
Hi, Dana. I'm just talking to people saying hello. Hi, Dana. How are you going?
Hi, Paul.
Hello. Well, I thought I might. Shall I kick off and just tell you where we're at, Ari?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I've got some questions for you, but it's up to you.
Yeah, great. Fire away. I'm ready.
Okay, cool. So I suppose what we're talking about here today is, yes, a sneak peek into your process and vision, and also we're talking about the curriculum things. But I suppose we have an opportunity here with our education dream team as well. A large part of the senior studies for drama is creating a directorial vision. And you, as a professional theatre director, can you share a bit of how you go about this?
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. What a task. I guess the biggest thing I would say in response to that question is that, the director's job, and I say this to every student who I'm teaching, directing to, whether it be at a high school or a university level, is that the director's role is really one of interpretation and reception. And so when we're talking about interpretation, that is what you are bringing in terms of your vision or in terms of your flavor or your aesthetic or your take on the script. How are you positioning this in 2021 to speak to as many people as possible with urgency, with clarity, and with emotion? And then the other flip side of that process is reception. And key to any kind of, I guess, director's journey or process is always keeping one foot in the idea of, how will this read? You kind of always have one foot in the audience to go, what can I do to shock? What can I do to delight? What can I do to surprise my audience? So I guess understanding interpretation and reception is really important. But the first thing I do is basically read it. I read the play over and over. Yes, for story. Yes, for emotional beats, but mostly, this is unique to me, for music. So it probably won't surprise a lot of teachers out there to learn, is that I'm so motivated and inspired by music. I create Spotify playlists for every play I'm working on because music is my way in to a work. And I think sometimes, even as teachers, when you're teaching, young people about directing, it can sometimes feel a bit abstract or I don't know, inaccessible, but being able to go, what does this work sound like for the auditory learners is a really kind of key way in. And so for me, music is a big one. I also look for key imagery, so and particularly colors. I kind of do a real color read on the whole thing and go, where am I? Is this feeling like red, white, and black, or is it feeling more like purple and pinks? And I try and really find the key colors first of all. And then you kind of begin to look around, I guess, for me, around the history of the play, not the production, but the play. So what's going on in the world when this play is set. And then from there, I kind of begin to, as anyone who's probably worked on any kind of creative product, the world just begins to speak to you and things begin to find you because you've suddenly put this headlight over your head that says, I'm doing away. And then suddenly lots of ideas and things begin to come to you. So after that, you can probably see I'm kind of in my study at the moment. So this is the entire palm carded out. So I kind of go out and palm card every single scene for visual beats, for music, for what characters inside it. And also on the wall, which you can't see, is a whole bunch of images. So I kind of begin to pull images and create a kind of palette for myself. At the moment, I've become obsessed with this book, Beaches, so good. And also this one, Places We Swim, which is kind of a nice kind of directory and guide of watering holes and beaches all around Australia. Because a big part, as you said, Ari, is keying into that summer world. So that's what I kind of begin to do. It's a sensory journey. So it's really about Pinterest boards, Spotify playlists, and really reading around the play to get under the skin of it. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And also just thinking about for the seniors, this is like a perfect process for them to also think about as part of their directorial vision. The palm cards behind you, capturing the world of the play. Beautiful. I suppose my next question then is about kind of drilling down into this production. So how are you approaching this particular version of Away for the end of 2021, the kind of year that has been? What's your kind of shaping around?
Yeah, right. I guess the biggest... I know that Sanya Simic, who's currently directing Caesar and is a creative producer at Boite, she asked me originally when I pitched this, she goes, why Away? And I kind of thought to myself, I think it's almost the perfect antidote to the big C word, which I shall not mention. Namely because I think it examines what we hold dear, what's important to us. It's about coming together. It's about what you hold on to, what you choose to let go of. And what, when you are faced with death, or when you're faced with mortality, disease, what happens? What becomes really, really important to you? And how how can those events in our life, those events that are huge events like deaths and births, how do they connect us to our natural world and our natural environment? And I think that's a big key to understanding the play, because of course, Away is a beautiful love letter to theatre. That's kind of what Michael's written. And he's written a play that evokes, very deliberately references, the whole play opens in A Midsummer Night's Dream. He references Lear. There's also beautiful touches of kind of like Tennessee Williams in there as well. And all the way through the play, though, he seems to be driving us out of the city towards the beach and towards the ocean. So you get this idea of nature, just like in A Midsummer Night's Dream, is a redeeming force, is a powerful force. And so my take on Away, or what I'm really interested in, is the character of Tom, who is, while it's quite an ensemble piece, I'm interested in viewing the world through his eyes. So this play is being conceived as a work and a world that you experience through the eyes of Tom. And spoiler alert, for those of you who don't want to know, close your ears now. But Tom, it is revealed in the play, late in the play, that he is dying, that he of an unnamed cancer, but we're led to believe it's leukemia, and that he's kind of, and so all through the play he's kind of slipping between life and death. There's this kind of idea that he's opened a portal, and that's, I guess, where kind of magical realism, I guess, or the magic comes into it, in that the magic of theatre, fairies, and the afterlife, or wherever he's going, is beginning to intervene in his world, and it's coming into his world to solve something. He's in the play. He has to complete one more thing before he is lost to us forever. So I'm kind of really interested in that as my sort of that's my way in. But that said, that is one way in, and then I guess once you follow that through that doorway, many other doors begin to open, and you meet a beautiful suite of characters in a play that is kind of lyrical and very gentle, and also quite overtly theatrical. This is not a work where there is projection that tells you where you are. This is not a work that suddenly we truck on a giant caravan. This is a work that is very much in love with being a beautiful piece of theatre, with the techniques and kind of properties that you can take back to the classroom and perhaps use yourselves, because it is about stripping back to what theatre is. And in 2021, that's so important. And what it is a really great story, hopefully well told.
Dan, that sounds absolutely beautiful. Maybe just a quick little insight question. Boite is famous for the Roundhouse Theatre. How do you see these two things kind of sitting together?
I know. And do you know what the funny thing is? When you read the play, it's been so written for a pros arch, or a kind of like black box space. In the Round is so perfect, because I guess like what sits at the center of this production for me symbolically is a circle. It feels like, it does feel like a circle of life kind of play, but I guess like the sun and the moon play a really key role as imagery in this. And so does, I guess, without giving too much of the design away, so does one of the key design features, which is at the moment a wreath. Because of course this is play set at Christmas, so there's a structure in this design that symbolizes the wreath of Christmas, also the wreath of a funeral, and also kind of like Titania's bower. So kind of like I'm really interested in playing into the architecture of In the Round, and really playing as much as possible to the complete like immersiveness and what you can do in this space to make it as immersive as possible, with a really banging soundtrack as well, because we're in the 60s, so why not, you know?
That is a special insight for all of the people here. You'll be able to see it manifested on stage later on this year. We also have the wonderful Annette joining us from St. Margaret's, who has shared some of her teacherly insights with us during this process. And we're just wondering, Annette, is there any chance that you could share a bit about how to best frame Away for students?
Yes, I would love to. Dan has been listening to me harp on about, all the way, and there's certainly, and he touched on this before, but that there is a nostalgia about the play, and something that probably for me feels nostalgic and takes me back to a play I studied at school, a play I have studied in schools, but then it sort of felt like this wave of this thing called magical realism took over, and people moved to these plays that were really identifying as that. But I think Dan's reference and relating it back to the likes of some of the Tennessee plays like The Glass Menagerie, it has aspects of that, and that sense that it's a memory play. And I think that we used to call them memory plays, and then I think they were planting the seeds of what we know to now be magical realism. And I think they're exciting in the way they explore form and style. It's not as clear cut. It hasn't been written by somebody who's gone, this is a style that's in a school, I'm going to write a play for it. And, as schools, as we know, we try to find boxes to put different plays in, or go, well, that's this style. This is a little bit more, it moves more fluidly between styles, and that's why I think it's a beautiful kind of smorgasbord taster, particularly for, I know a lot of people are going to be bringing 9s, 10s, or 11s, and it's just going to be, as we all know from anyone who's seen dance shows, and if you haven't, well, this is your chance, don't miss it, but just an absolute sensory delight, and not overload, because it'll be lots of different things happening at once, but of what theatre can be, and of, as Dan said, the theatricality and just the magic of theatre. There are moments in it that are beautiful, challenging scenes. If you're really keen to look at contemporary performance, realism, just that characterisation, you're going to find those moments. If you want to look at those heightened, stylized, choreographed movements with an incredible soundtrack like Dan mentioned, you're going to have that. You're going to be looking at creating place and time through touchstones, not just here's our traditional set in the press arch, or here's a projection taking us exactly there. So again, it's about the theatricality of it. And I think you can take aspects of it, or you can look at it holistically. So if you're doing contemporary theatre, it's that hybridity of style. It's looking at there being a number of different forms of play. Australian theatre, obviously, something that's so iconically Australian. There are scenes in a way that would take most audience members back to, oh, I had that holiday at the beach, or, that would take parents if they're coming along, or take the older audience members back, or that generate conversations with between teachers and students about, well, this was how we did traditional ritual. And I have a feeling, and maybe forgive me if this is being repeated, but I think the kind of holidays that they're charting in a way, families are going back to that, because they can't jump on planes and go and have these très exotic holidays that they used to have. So the idea of getting in a camper van, going away, knowing the people, having those rituals. I love the rituals. I love the packing. There's so many characters in the play that I personally like to. But I think it's not a matter of will it fit with my year 9 or 10 or even 11. You can definitely, obviously, it's perfect for a flat unit too. But I think it's not so much will it. I think it's how many different ways do I want it to? And if nothing else, we just have to build this theatre literacy. I think kind of gone are the days of we're wondering this year then it's about getting these 9s and 10s who desperately want to come into our subjects and so now. We know it's a pretty fierce competition out there. So come along, do drama. Here's some of the joy you'll get to experience, and get them match fit and theatre literate and able to see a number of different factors at play. They can go home and unpack conventions, elements, design, stagecraft choices, and I think it's also just a delightful treat to finish with. So maybe when you're seeing it, you're getting to that point where they've done assessment and you're wanting to create some in-class workshops to really round out their tiny 9 or 10 drama board that they can set up for year 11. If you haven't read it, put your head in the script and just know that that's just a starting point. Like, I find it a delight to read. If you find some of it, there are some quirky parts to it, but there are scenes that belong, between raw and cold that belong in an absurdist workshop. There are, really heightened scenes with some of the opening pieces, but some of the really gritty scenes between, Tournament and Log later on, you can really get into some of that characterisation. I just think I'm a huge fan of the play. It reminds me of when, we'd go and see something like Black Rock and hails through your mind, and you felt like you were on the sand in that place. It has those kind of memories, and I love the idea that we can create something new, a new version of that that's by Dan, based on a classic that has not been done enough. So I'm so excited about this. I also think for our young audiences, seeing an ensemble, is it 11 actors, Daniel? Yeah, 11 actors on stage. That's really exciting because we don't get to do two-handers with them, you know. So for them to see that many people functioning together and all of the aspects working together to enjoy the rich complexity, because as we know, as drama teachers, we kind of have to take this thing that's like that and then tease it out and then explain to them that we don't, because you guys aren't all creators, you're not looking at going, how should we use dramatic focus in that, but it creates a holistic piece first and then at the end of it. So, book, I 9 to 12, even 8, depending on what your program is. I just think it's going to be a smashing way to end the year in theatre. I don't know if there's anyone else you want to say specifically.
Beautiful. Thank you, Annette. Oh, what an amazing kind of like sell. Amazing. I completely agree with you. That feeling of the end of the year, like the sensorial aspects of this play is what supports it being a classic. It's enduring. Okay, we are coming to the end of our time together for this sneak peek. There doesn't seem to be any questions in the chat. Pop them in there if you've got any. Otherwise, you can always reach back out to me via my email address. But before we leave, Dan,
yes,
do you have any secrets for us? Can you share anything?
Okay. In terms of the production, well, you know,
not too much. No spoilers.
Not too much. Okay. Well, I won't say too much, but I will say that music is a big one. Obviously, music. There will be a couple. Yes, of course, there'll be an amazing Gold Coast dance floor sequence. Why not? I can tell you that for those of you who are very familiar with the play, we aren't doubling any of the roles. So there will be an individual Rick and Leonie. Nature may feature in the design. And also, what else? Okay. I will tell you that we are going to activate some parts of the theatre and around the theatrical kind of amphitheatre that haven't been activated for a while. So it's going to be, when I say in the round, it will very, very much be in the round. And I'm really, really kind of pumped to explore that.
Awesome. We have a question from the wonderful Karen Farrow. Is the context a new time or is it going to be 60s? Where are we looking at?
Karen, such a good question. Karen, absolutely. This is quite a strange thing for me because usually I'm updating or moving adaptations of classics into like now, but no, we are very much firmly setting it in 1967 to 1968. It is locked to that time. I think that time has so much to say. It speaks with kind of sparkling clarity about 2021, but also it was such a fraught time, both for gender relationships, for relationships with the rest of the world, for relationships with our own sense of self and national identity. Of course, as Ari and Annette both mentioned, that Vietnam is kind of like very much pregnant and off in the wings, just kind of waiting to burst forward. Yes, very much in 1967. This will not be appearing in, it won't be updated into a 2021. It's not going to Noosa, I guess, in other words. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that we can all do a beautiful 60s dress up.
Absolutely. 100%.
I'm there. Wonderful. Anyone else have any questions? So a follow-up from Karen, so we can make our own 21st century connection.
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
Yep, drawing those links between the two. A question from Lee. Suggestions for teaching this text in a senior English space. Lee, this, and I can speak a little bit to this one. Lee, yes, this is part of the prescribed text list, but it also sits as one of the alternate versions of a text to respond to. So a live play is one of those options that you can go and see. I would have to pull up the curriculum in front of me to speak to it clearer, but I know that I think it's Unit 4, it can speak to texts with perspective and text and culture. So all of these things that we were speaking about, kind of Australian perspective, but the themes of the Vietnam War, loss, coming of age, it can talk to those kind of cultural aspects as well. Hopefully that answers the question. All right, we are smack bang on our ending time. So everyone, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thanks to Dan and Annette for your wonderful insights. Away is sure to be a tremendously memorable show, running from October 27th to November 13th. School bookings are open now. You can head to leboite.com.au/education and click on the school bookings link. Thank you again for your time, everybody, and we hope to see you in the foyer soon. I will follow up with an email with all the details that you require. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, teachers. See you there. See you later.